So we're showing a tempo hip hinge. We're going to do this with no weight, but we could totally progress this into a deadlift variation. But what we're going to learn here is how to use our hips without over-dominating with the low back or with the knees. So in a lot of lower extremity hip and low back injuries that I see, the patients don't have an ability to isolate hip motion without coupled back or knee motion. So when I say hinge at your hips, I either see knees move also or back moves also. And just the inability to isolate this hip motion tends to lead to a couple different injuries. And at the very least, we're losing some athletic and gym performance if we can't just move through the hips. So what we're going to do is we're going to get organized, similar to our squat video, but feet are going to be a little narrower. I want them straight. Before I move, I'm going to get some external rotation force. So you can see my feet want to slide out a little bit, but I don't want to actually turn them out. But that's the idea, is I'm going to try to slide them pretty much straight, big toes down. I'm about 60% of my weight on my heel, 40% through the ball of my foot and big toe. You should feel like your feet are pretty activated on the ground. And then I'm going to squeeze my glutes, embrace my core such that my ribs and my belt line are parallel. So I'm not flaring my rib cage up. I'm also not crunching down. This is going to be the key in particular to this exercise, is keeping what I call the two-hand rule. So these hands are parallel to each other. If I flex my low back forward, now my hands are pointing to each other. If I flare my ribs up, now I'm extending out. And so throughout this whole drill, we're going to check our position with this two-hand drill. So I'm going to show from the side. So I'm going to get organized here, and then I'm actually going to remove my hands and squeeze my shoulder blades back, because I want some good stability through my thoracic spine. Because if I start to hinge and my shoulders slump down, that's going to take my whole low back with it. So I want to be nice and upright here. But I want to do that without losing this core position. So I want to squeeze without going there. So hopefully you can see that difference of scapula shoulder blades opening, sternum and chest opening, without the low back extending. So that's the second piece, is can we decouple shoulder and thoracic motion from low back motion? People who've struggled with low back or hip pain for a long time, often it's all just one block. If one thing moves, everything moves. And so we want to start to see, can we articulate different joints separately? So I'm going to get organized, rotation from the feet, squeeze the glutes, get organized here, shoulders back. Just going to pause here, just feel that. For some of you, that might be work in itself. But then I'm going to try to move just from the hips. In order to do so, I got to unlock my glutes. So I'm going to let my butt go a little bit. And then I'm going to like karate chop my hips. So in the squat, we karate chopped and then dropped straight down. In the hip hinge, we want our hips to go back and not as much down. So I'm going to like karate chop my hips here, shoulders stay back then. And my hips, I'm going to imagine I'm still going back, back, back. And then I'm going to feel a little stretch in the hamstrings. So you can see my knees bend a little bit, but they follow my hips, meaning my shins stay vertical and my knees don't start coming forward like that. I'm also not locked out, because sometimes people will try to do this and they're really just tipping forward from their low back, creating a whole bunch of neural tension and not actually allowing their hips to translate posteriorly. So we're going to come here, pause, and then come on up. So what I'm thinking is, at what point of this motion do I start to lose this organization I had in the beginning? Meaning, as I start to go back, I'm trying to rotate my feet out, my hips are going back, my shoulders are coming back, and I'm trying not to flare my rib cage. My fault is almost always overextension as an athlete. So you can see I want to live here, but I'm going to brace and bring that down a little bit, big squeeze. And then right about there, I feel stretch in the hamstring, or I feel if I go lower, I'm going to start to lose it forward. So I'm going to pause and breathe here for 2 breaths. And then coming up, I'm imagining my body's a big hinge and my butt is pushing it open. So we don't want to just come up with the low back, because then my lumbar spine's driving the movement. The glutes are the powerhouse, so we want the glutes to power me up to straight, and I squeeze the butt at the top, returning to that start form of organization. So I'll show that again. I'm going to come down, brace in here. Without losing this brace, I should still be able to breathe. I still got this rotational force. It's a lot of work to just hang out here, and then I'm going to come up. Now we can start to move our arms around without losing the stability. So I can come down If I was deadlifting a barbell, just bring my arms here, but my shoulder blades don't slump. So I'm here, hex bar deadlift, kettlebell deadlift. I could be overhead. Now that's a whole lot of work. I really want to let my core go, so I'm going to brace that in and reach. This is like a founder's position, or just a really challenging hold through the whole posterior chain. So we can do a lot of things here, but I'm trying not to lose this piece, trying not to lose the rotational piece, because I'm feeling my glute medius, my side butt here, and I'm trying not to lose my scapular piece. So I'm trying to keep all those elements and breathe, and then drive up. So that's the tempo hip hinge. Each rep should take 20 seconds at a minimum, and we want to feel how low can we go before we start losing any of those elements. If you start feeling some instability, let's say you get to right here and you start extending or flexing, or you feel like you can't keep your shoulders back, that's where you pause, and that's where we work from. And we just breathe from there. And then maybe you can go a little lower, but maybe not. Maybe this is just where we are, and then we kind of progress. One little drill to make sure your hips are going backwards is I'm going to stand about a foot from a wall, and then I'm going to try to do this and touch my butt to the wall. Because in order to get it there, I'll show you on this wall over here from the side view, my hips have to travel backwards. The only thing with this is I just want to very gently touch it like I'm bumping a door shut. I don't want to fall back into it, because then all my weight's on my heels. I'm not hinging at all here. So I just want to, boom, try and touch it, pause, breathe, core position, shoulder position, rotation, and then come on. Okay? Give that a shot. Let me know how it goes.